So good day, all. My name is Robert Savino, and I'm on the board here at the Walt Whitman Birthplace. I greet you today on behalf of our Executive Director, Caitlin Shea, and Walt Whitman Birthplace Association, and welcome you to the final gathering of Season 4's Triangulation Journey, Poets Building Bridges. Poets Building Bridges is produced by Poetry Bay Productions for the Walt Whitman Birthplace and led by George Wallace. George, who's been a writer in residence at the Birthplace for 15 years now. The Birthplace offers a number of different events throughout the years, and I recommend you check out our website, a new website. It's been redone at waltwhitman.org. I thank all the poets and guests for joining us here on this journey today. I thank Karen, our technical director back at the Birthplace, and always thanking George for the continuance of this program, for what he contributes to the Birthplace and to poetry throughout the community as well as worldwide. And now I turn the program over to our international famed leader, George Wallace.
International. How about that? Can't beat that. Well, welcome all of you to the final Poets Building Bridges for 2025. We're going to tinker with it a little bit. Next year, we're going to do two Poets Building Bridges, one in March, one in September, with a dozen performers from different countries around the world in each of the two events. So we're going to all change it up from this once a month thing that we've been doing with groups from three locations. But it's a highly successful effort because of the participation of the compares and very good people that they bring in to be part of this show. We've had people all the way from Asia and Middle East and Europe, South America, to people from groups of people from different places in the United States. And of course, the concept is what Robert mentioned, the triangulation of groups. So we get a sense not just of a random collection of people and what their poetry is, but what's happening in San Francisco Bay Area, or San Antonio, or Detroit, or different places around the country and around the world, as a group. And the group is loose, So we have with us today three very interesting groups to wrap up the season. So all of you who are here as audience, thank you all for joining us. I'm not sure if you can get on the group chat, but you're welcome, all of you, to open up the chat and encourage each other and network with each other during the course of the program. I will, double down on what Robert said about the Walt Whitman Birthplace. The Walt Whitman Birthplace took this on as their project administratively, and have done a fabulous job of supporting we poets with this, and really a lot of initiatives that the Birthplace continues to do to bring poetry to the local community, and in this case to groups of people around the world. So thanks for that. We're going to start right off the bat with a group of poets from Nassau County, the Poets Laureate of Nassau County, several of them, brought to you by the current Poet Laureates, Alan Semerdjian, who many of you will know in New York City as a performer downtown, music as well as poetry. People know him from his significant work with the Armenian American community, and he has traveled a couple of times on the West Coast, so you may have seen him on the West Coast and Central Coast or another place like that. So to introduce the group of people, Nassau County Poets Laureate, please say hi to Alan Semerdjian.
Thanks, George. Everyone could hear me okay? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. A huge thank you to Robert, the Whitman Birthplace, which was my home for many years in the late 90s. I was the caretaker there, which was a terrific experience, living in that space and writing in that space and planning in that space and just sort of being there, taking care of the property. George, your generosity and your kind of vision for this cross-pollination affair here is so wonderful, and it's a pleasure to be here. And I'm excited to hear from the other participants. Really excited. So the plan for me is I'm going to introduce three uh, poets laureate emeritus actually today from Nassau County and hear their work, and then at the end contribute as well. We're going to read alphabetically actually. And I just, wanted to say, if you don't know where Nassau County is, it's sort of the king of in between, I guess. Sort of, it's maybe it sounds like a Wallace Stevens poem or something, but it really is, that space in between the urban, whatever, the New York City thing, and then of course out east, which is a expansive space, has taken on different definitions. That we're the in between, we're that transitory space, but in and of itself, it does have such amazing cultural resonance and, dating back to the first published African American poet, Jupiter Hammond, the late 18th century, I should say, um, to, William Cullen Bryant, to one of my favorite, Lou Reed from Freeport, poet, rock star, and of course, many of the terrific writers that are part of the Poet Laureate Society, Linda Ober, Gail Teller, and several others, and three of whom are here today with you. So I'm really excited to introduce them. I'm going to get right to it. Our first writer is Lorraine Conlin, who is the Nassau County Poet Laureate Emeritus 2015 to 2017, Vice President of the Nassau County Poet Laureate Society, Events Coordinator for PPA, and Director of Program Development for LIWG. She'll tell you more about that if you want. She hosts Tuesdays with Poetry at the Belmore Library, and a two-time winner of the Allen Ginsberg Poetry Contest. Her poems have been published nationally and internationally in anthologies and literary reviews. She has a huge heart and a terrific imagination. Let's give it up for Lorraine Conlin, everybody.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, George. Thank you, Robert, for putting this together. And thank you, everyone, for coming. I usually write memory poems, most of them. So I'm going to begin with the first poem that I ever had published. And the first poem that George videoed at the barn for his vlog, which was like 100 years ago. So let me begin. Grapevine. I see Mom sitting alone in her favorite spot beneath the purple clusters, and I remember the sweetness of the jelly and jam. I could offer to make her some, but she would be bitter, reject it and me, say it is not like hers, and we would both hurt. If her hands didn't shake, if she had more strength, less memory, maybe she would be happier. I wouldn't have to slow down when we walk. We'll go back with her to the place that once was her smile. If she could forget some of the good parts, maybe life wouldn't be this tedious journey, taken time and again when we visit, or when I'm alone and see her still. Maybe if she hadn't been everything yesterday, it would be different today. I could go there and leave without thinking of her, sitting alone, staring at the grapes. The Keeper. When Mom passed away, we sold her house. I moved her mother's trunk to my attic for safekeeping. Grandma brought the barrel-stave dome-top trunk with her when she immigrated from Poland in 1912. She filled her safe box of hope with new beginnings and so many endings. A certificate of marriage 4 years after her arrival. Mount St. Mary's Cemetery burial certificates for 5 of her 10 children who died before her passing. Mom stored the trunk in her attic, and whenever she missed or thought of someone on an anniversary or birthday, she'd open the treasure trove of memories and take out Grandma's large leather-bound photo album, turn back the pages of life that crumbled through the years. We'd sit at the dining room table, and she'd show me a photo, read the name, place, and date Grandma recorded before licking the tiny corner tabs that held them in place for over a century. I loved the reminiscing, the nostalgia, and learning about the past. We added new photographs, birth announcements, invitation to celebrations, report cards, and accolades. Mom combined new death memory cards to the bundles saved by her mother. This is my ancestry timeline. With each loss of a loved one, I've sorted through their photos, possessions, and memories, having to choose what to preserve. The vintage catch continues, and now I am the matriarch of the family. I sort through decades spanning 2 centuries, thinking of downsizing, selling my house, cleaning out the attic of mind and home, a new beginning. If I take the vintage trunk with me to a new place, whose burden will it become to be the next keeper? Discarding connections to the past scares me. And last, looking for Nina. I used to say I need this or that, always need, never want. I had the need to justify, thinking that want was selfish. Friends said it was okay to want. Now, when they ask me, what do you want? I tell them, I want a Sunday kind of love, lingering in bed, reading the New York Times, making love between sections, looking for answers to 36 down and across, searching for Nina, hidden in Hirschfeld's satirical drawings, agreeing what film to see at the Waverly. Afternoon walks through Washington Square Park, ordering shandy or a black and tan, Stilton cheese and soda crackers at the English pub, train rides home, sharing. That's what I want. Thank you all for listening. I'm looking forward to hearing everyone.
Beautiful, Lorraine. Thank you. My goodness. I wrote down a whole bunch of lines. Cleaning out the attic of mind and home. Wow, that was a really interesting um, line for me and probably for many of us. Thank you so much for that journey. Our next reader from Nassau County um, group is Paula Curci. And Paula produces a Calliope's Corner and What's the Buzz on WRHU.org. That's a Hofstra University radio. A big love to college radio stations across this country and the world. They do the good work. She is the Nassau County Poet Laureate Emerita 2022 to 2024. Was a real integral for me, just kind of coaching me into this position and figuring things out. And the co-founder of the Acoustic Poets Network. She's certified journal to the self journal writing instructor, and you can find her poetry and radio show online, and you could see her at various open mics and all the different great things she does around the county and beyond. Please welcome Paula Curci, everybody.
Hello, everyone. Happy holidays and Happy New Year. I'm going to read this piece written and performed as poetry as memoir from an event I did at the Italian American Experience Cultural Center at Hofstra. It's called My Bloodline is Eve. I am Europini. My bloodline is Eve. I am from the beginning of being, from the side of the rising sun, from Anatolia, where we walked with a wolf through the Danube to the coast of Magna Greci. I am Osci, Bruti, farmed and fished. We survived siege and storm and made oceans our home, una millennio pasado, and the soil dried. So we, Urpini, we Ayatollah, left our sisters south and marched our brothers north to find fertile land. We Lactium, we Sanitanium, called our land Benevenuto and Byzantino. We became Cervantes' Campagna, and with our new family lit torches for Mars and Diana, and with gifts at Saturnalia enchanted, we walked rugged Roman roads through social wars and volcanoes. E passarono I secoli. We fought and prayed to Jesus. Vivere, vivere, to live through the resurgence and rising again, unification, organization, searching for work and bread. Siamo scappati fascissimo. We escaped fascism. We rode trains. We sailed oceans. Con noni. We led the great arrival. We sat our lineage down on new soil in the new world. I am Irupini. My bloodline is Eve. I am from the beginning of being. And I'm going to leave you with one more because we're moving into, 2026. So in the honoring Robert Burns and Old Lang Syne, I'm going to recite to you images of an old-fashioned toast. This is my wish for all of you. I wish you an Alice Nelson morning toast where children wait for grilled bread and a chance at cinnamon apple bread with the Brady Bunch. A festive Claire Fraser toast while dressed in floral mantua with a flare holding a crystal high in the air, wishing her laird good cheer. Let's share some sweet toast, my friend. Let's speak a tender toast. With a bit of kindness yet next year may be a kindler host. An honest, frugal Bob Cratchit toast, mixed with eggs and yesterday's bread, milk and raisins to be fed as tomorrow's Christmas pudding. A genuine George Bailey, beautiful toast, leaving last year far behind as the words of Old Lang Syne are loudly cheered for a wonderful life. I wish you a wonderful year. Let's share some sweet toast, my friends, and speak a tender toast with a bit of kindness yet. Next year may be a kinder host. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. It's evocative, musical, spun tapestry, really beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, Happy New Year. Our next reader is Pete Dugan. Peter was the Nassau County Poet Laureate from 2017 to 2019. Looks like the camera's sort of shifting around in that split screen world over there. Over the years, he's authored 5 collections of poetry, and his work has been published in numerous anthologies and magazines, both online and in print. Some notable publications include Grub Street Literary and Arts Magazine, Soul Fountain, Reckless Writing, Modernization of Poetry by Emerging Writers of the 21st Century. He received an honorable mention from American Academy of Poetry in 2014 and was awarded the L.I. Bard Poet Mentor Award by Bard's Initiatives. And in 2016, 2 of his poems were nominated for Pushcart Prizes. He hosts a reading series at Oceanside Library on Long Island and attends many poetry events in the Long Island and metropolitan area, and I appreciate his commitment to education, helping out being a judge for the Poetry Out Loud program for many years as well. I wanted to note that. Peter, you're a good man, and we're looking forward to hearing your work.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, George. Thank you all for coming. Robert, All right. Since I've been known for doing motorcycle poems, which was my main gig at the beginning, and it's caught on in this poem, The Great Pilgrim, also appeared in the Tel Aviv Film Festival. And I was quite impressed that they did that for me. Here's the Great Pilgrim. Operating on instinct rather than intellect, I pull up to the gas pump in need of coffee as much as my car needs fuel. A casualty of a late night and an early morning, I linger in the misty twilight of dreams and reality as I saunter toward the entrance of the 24-hour convenience store. Parked on the side, I notice an old biker readying his motorcycle for the day's travel. I recognize him immediately. A hometown boy, born and bred on Long Island, matured in Brooklyn, and now he sleeps in New Jersey. He is a sojourner who has crisscrossed the country countless times, chronicling and cataloging the people, places, and things he's encountered from New York to San Francisco, Daytona to Sturgis, Chicago to New Orleans, Boston to Los Angeles, big cities, the small towns, and all the villages, hamlets, and whistle stops found in between. To some, he is an eccentric renegade filled with purposeless wanderlust. As for myself and others, he is a maverick, a rebel, a hero who celebrates his freedom. He's all American, and he is ageless. Spry for his years, rough-hewn with a lean, wiry frame, his face taut like rough-weathered leather beneath a long gray beard, creased with the lines of many miles and many years. He's dressed in a tan deerskin duster with fringes and faded blue jeans. On his head, he wears a stars and stripes bandana to keep his bushy silver white hair in place. His bike is an expression of himself, dusty but not dirty from the road. The engine, a big V-twin, sits on a monoshock soft-tail frame with a fat bob gas tank and a teardrop fenders painted electric blue and highlighted with red and white pinstripes. A cool, rigid look, fine-tuned by a low-sung saddle seat, with a passenger pad and an old, worn rucksack tied to a small sissy bar. The pullback handlebars and a wide glide front end that rolls on chrome spoke wheels gives the impression of constant motion. It is retro classic style for a long, easy ride. Standing still, it beckons for the open road. It is a machine to epitomize the power and prestige of the American dream. He mounts the bike, starts it up, and roars toward the open road. A resounding thunder shatters the silence of the new morning. The fringes of his jacket give the appearance of wings, an eagle gliding on the wind. Walt Whitman rides a Harley Davidson. My next poem was published in What Unites Us from Walt Whitman. It's dedicated to Walt Whitman. And I'm going to read Modern Americana. This is the land of freedom of choice. Coke or Pepsi, light beer or dark, less filling, tastes great. Republican or Democrat, horse manure, cow manure, different crap, same smell. America is now a pie divided into 8 slices, but there are 12 at the table, and 3 of them want seconds. It's all a game. George and Martha never had a son. Truth and illusion. It doesn't make a difference. We still sit in the waiting room expecting delivery. Money is the new messiah. Greed is the national creed. In God, gold, oil, or dollars, we trust. But credit cards are accepted. The government of the people has been bought and sold. It's strictly business, nothing personal. The heart of America stopped beating. The blood clotted, no longer red, now mediocre and pumped by the pacemaker of public opinion. And still, some believe that the only real American patriots are true blue and white, or at least act white, and all the stars are in Hollywood. Thank you all. Have a happy holiday. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, Happy Kwanzaa. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Pete. Go, Whitman, go on that bike and into our imaginations. Thanks so much. And I think we're going to conclude this. I'm going to read a poem myself, and we'll transition to hear some work from the other groups. Really excited for that. I wrote this poem. It has a couple of sections. It kind of runs quick, but it has a couple of sections. I wrote this poem when I was living in Stuyvesant Town for many years in the East Village, and I was on the East River over there, that walk, and it was a new year somewhere probably between 2018 and 2019. I don't remember what year actually it was written, and it was Fence put it up on their website. And anyway, it's called The New Year. So maybe it's appropriate for now. Again, one, for instance, in the soft glow of the same reviews parachuting over the blue terrain as if it were an ocean in a painting, the last scholar in America named before the collapse. Or, with fervor now, the last year we would recall. For instance, the bomb before the fall. Two, were we ever good to each other? I mean, as good as we can, like the wind to gull over where the East River, like sold is to zones of quiet regret around the sun, buttresses to bridges. Good, like the boy's first true hurt, tossed at the shield of the mother, and his face frozen in mimed tower before the inevitable thaw of his rising spring. Good, like a poem will forever try to mean, in either or both, towards and away from. Three, the remnants of an evergreen shore tumble across our alphabet city, a diasporic nod to what language could never force right. I continue to write in red light pontoons while my son sleeps high on the motion, so I can find something to say in this wake. 4, this morning I read the screens like it means everything, because it does mean everything every day. We must all learn to read better in the new reshape what we think we know. I'd like to say it in a prettier way, but urgency was never the beautiful strike of lightness the room had dreamt it to be all these years, and transformations, not solutions, torch bragging away into the wee fires of night as the punch is drained and the commuters docked, noisemakers so lost before they're found. Accept the city. See, don't try to change the city. Be like the plastic bag on the end of the branch lifted in the breeze, the mind lifted in solidarity, mirrored while it moves, the rest of the tree still as the stains upon the flat outside of the driver's side window, some turn of no consequence kicked up last night on the way back from the ruckus and towards the possibility, everything else. And 5, of course, it could all be a flub that gets annotated erringly in time, mistaken for motif or metonymy, when all it really wanted was a good laugh, or to be part of a conversation that was, because of how stupid conversations typically work, above it or in another room, or something seemingly banal, but ultimately for the hack in devious nature. Yes, the madman will most likely spin his mustache this year too. And if we use him to punctuate the painting, that one of the almost oceans, disappearingly thin expansion before our eyes, well, then we might forget that we were born villainous too. No, I see the monuments now, and in my most lucid moments, I know what to do with them. There are no soft symbols in such cold weather at this time of year. Happy New Year coming up, everybody, and all the holiday joy. It's a pleasure, George. Thank you. Robert, Whitman, looking forward to hearing everybody else. Thanks so much.
Beautiful.
Great
Thank
job,
you.
Ray.
Thank you to Lorraine, Pete, and Paula for joining us today. Yes, Nassau County, very diverse county. From poets from there range from Louise Gluck to Public Enemy. So quite a lot of different voices coming out of Nassau County as you heard today. Thanks so much. I will mention that because I almost forgot, it was a couple of years ago we did poetry vlog. I've just put a link to it. This was Michael Mart from Michael Mart, M-A-R-T. He had a bookstore in Stony Brook, in Port Jeff. And when he retired from doing that, he recorded probably 30, 40 poets. First on Long Island, then he came to New York City a few times and recorded some New York City poets, and then managed to get people from as far away as Venice Beach, California, onto the show. So I put the link to the poetry vlog, which still exists. And yes, Lorraine was one of the first. Lorraine also was one of the two people I sat at a, a theater at the invitation of Donovan many, many years ago, and first got to know Donovan. So we go back a long ways. Thank you all for coming today from Nassau County. Our second group of people is under the umbrella of the Ziggurat Poets. Ziggurats are those Mesopotamian pyramids. And to tell us what that name represents in terms of the poets that he's brought to the table for us today from California and also somebody from New York is Youssef Alaoui, who's somebody that you may run across in on the West Coast and northern part of California, or right here in New York, because I think he's currently living here in New York. I've seen him in Paris, run across him in Paris. So you never know where you're going to find Youssef Alaoui.
Right
But
on.
you're with us today with a group of very fine poets. So welcome, Youssef, and let us hear about your group today.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, George. And thank you, Walt Whitman Birthplace Association, for hosting this series and for inviting us to participate in it. We are Ziggurat Poets. I know these people from my activities in Oakland and the Bay Area. And Keith Donnel Jr. is a press mate of mine on what was Nomadic Press from Oakland. I'm trying to be like super compact in order to give each of these people enough time to do their stuff. They're all like widely varied. And let me just say like two words about Ziggurat, or maybe three. Our mission is basically to reconnect literary artists and enthusiasts with literature through a first-hand physical experience in this distanced, social media focused and digital age. And Keith Donnel is the one with whom we are cooperating. This is not my idea alone. This is mostly coming from him. Well, actually, just between conversations between he and myself. In the SF Bay area, we intend to provide free and affordable poetry handouts and host in-person readings and literary events. We're also building into NYC as well. And this project aims to elevate the visibility of Black and Brown poetry, honoring the resilience and unity of the African diaspora. And our pages, however, are open to any contributor. We seek new, fresh, daring work that challenges the paradigm. Have I said this wrong or right, Keith?
Oh no, very right, very
Yeah.
right. And maybe just to piggyback on that a little bit,
Yeah.
we also we're really wanting to platform poetry that embraces the political and the political consciousness, particularly in our time. So to build a platform that kind of is dedicated, focused on maybe not speaking truth to power, but pointing power out and pointing out the ways that that its systems project onto our lives and onto our society. So a platform that gets into some trouble, that hopefully it ruffles some feathers
It's a
somewhere.
great time to be punk rock, right? Just like uh the old days, huh? So all that's old is new again. Let me tell you about Keith Donnel. Keith is a California-based poet and book editor. He's a graduate of the Creative Writing MFA program at San Francisco State University and the author of poetry collections The Move on Nomadic Press 2021 and Supreme Night, just released by Black Lawrence Press in this year. And his website is keithdonnelljr.com. We're going to have a record of that for George and all the following people. Do you have an SF Bay memory or what's your activity right now? What are you up to in the Bay Area right now? And then go read your poem. Yeah.
Oh, so I'm mostly again in Central Coast right now, just
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
reading and
Yeah.
writing, working on my new collection, trying to
Cool.
be in that place of solitude and just kind of maximize it. In terms of a memory from the Bay, I uh there used to be a bookstore called Alley Cat Books.
Yeah.
Now it's called Medicine for Nightmares. But
Right.
yeah, now but when I first made it to the Bay, it was called Alley Cat Books. And it was really a place where I first experienced like really powerful readings and really became a part of the local literary community there. It was a really kind of magical time for me. And there was a really good bar right down the street called Blind Cat. So it was always like going to readings and then going to the bar and just a bunch of cats, two
Right on.
cats.
Literary cats, man.
Um, so I'm just going to read one extended poem. Um, from Supreme Night, which again came out in April. And it's called Eulogy, and it's inspired by the eulogy that Ozzie Davis gave at the funeral of Malcolm X. Eulogy. This final hour, this quiet place, alarm has come. Dim lit stairwell, torn from it, searing eye test, smoke, hope, notes extinguished, no wind, gone with us forever. 4 alarm down here. We were kids wandering, strung lead and fog, our home of bones, where his heart was and his people are still, runaways out in the woods again. The reforms lost footing. Now we are meat once again in alarm to shard these last monuments. Rhythm, 4 alarms, lost cause fantasies, a sewer bin grace, used to those who crossed air, full volt, he ran, he dove, he defended our air. Dark nights in the memory of men, fortunes faked, but nonetheless proud, still braver, more gallant young shams. Then, this here brother, laid out before us now, so bright, shining, and beautiful, so holy before sun conquered stale eyes. Brother Malcolm, the pyre calls me too, was a mass tear to float my stem. We, real cool, alive between words, no known bodies returned, torn knee to sworn power, wars galore, half off all remains of men, runaways out in the woods again. Malcolm had stopped being a Negro years ago. It had become too puny, too small to wreck a word form. No. Malcolm was badder than that. Malcolm had become aggro, a field again, and he wanted no disparity that all his people came to. The roar of those who wall, consider it their duty, still we laugh, we eat, we've grown down. To revive him, prisms of memory, to save ourselves by riding harm out of history of our turbulent times. Capital will ask what fire alarms to budget cut in this stormy, controversial, and bold young crap's hand, and we wall miles. Frame this man, for he is not a man, but tandem, a sermon, a subverter, no anomaly. All that rumble, young man, rumble, and we wall miles. They'll say he was half ape, an old attic slave, mind misty and sun-kissed, holy cannons liberating evil, and to dwell and smear and dismay. Delude no tattoos, my brother. Elude never God's touch. Humor. Have harm smile at you. Did he ever really glisten to him? Did he ever do a mean thing? Wash me over for him sale, assassinated with violin synths at any public funeral trance. For if you do you, we're now him, and you, if you truly knew harm, you, widow, wide, we missed so near him. Malcolm had become our human donor, our loving main back road. This was his meaning to his people, and in honoring him, we honor the fuse we blast from ourselves. The brother surely slayed is all mist, free bread, and we laugh a much braided rope. Consign these mortal remains to earth, our common mother, and fall, seeking core in the knowledge that what they mace, pin to ground, ice no more, amen, but acid wash. Walls came forth again, towards us dust, and we will know him then for what he was and is, a brick, our own black shining brick, who didn't hesitate to fly because he loved us so. Thank you.
Oh, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. Thank you, Keith. I want to spend time with you, but I cannot. Okay, so Duane Horton is a Black queer fantasy writer who resides in the Bay Area. He believes in writing his intersection of identity into the fantasy genre to widen the canon. Find him at duanehorton.net. And what are you currently up to? And dang, you are braidless. What is happening, man? How are you?
Thank you. Yes, I'm doing well. I recently came out with a book at the beginning of this year called No Hero Alone. It is small press published and available on Amazon. And if you don't like Amazon, then you can always reach out to me for a copy. Um,
Oh, you, man.
Thank you. I thought I'd share a story here today. It's called Commandments. Brett stared at the commandments written on the walls. They were the ones his father wrote with black ink over white walls that were impossible to wash away. After his father passed, he left Red a small fortune, and it all came in the form of this house. The same house he'd grown up in the middle of nowhere. The same house that his father had written his commandments on the walls, the ceilings, the floors, the doors, and every crack and crevice in between. What did your father write these words with? Stan asked as he poured some nail polish remover on a paper towel and began scrubbing, a last-ditch effort. Your guess is as good as mine, Red sighed out. Can you pass me the acetone? It was the dead of night, but no sleep would come to the couple. There was an electricity in the air that had enough voltage to wake the dead. Stan passed him the acetone, continuing to scrub. You weren't kidding when you said your dad was a very disciplined man, were you? Stan said incredulously. Brett could tell because he kicked an eyebrow in the air, but his father's discipline had always been so. Red remembered the first commandment his father ever wrote when he was younger, maybe around the age of 13, Commandment 1. Listen. It felt arrogant to Red. It felt cold, unforgiving, and Red did everything he could to look away. He wasn't so concerned with guidance from his father, he was more concerned with being seen by him, which his father never seemed to be able to do, especially after he came out. Now with his father gone and the house belonging to him, Red felt further and further away. Welcome to my life before I moved out and never looked back, Red apologized in his way. Stan was the first man he'd ever brought to his father's home. But since they were engaged, it felt right for Stan to see all of him. That was why he invited him here, to help get his father's words off of the wall. No luck with the nail polish remover? Stan asked, his dark skin glistening in light sweat. He wrapped his big arms around Red, who just wanted to melt. Nothing was working. He dropped the polish onto the counter. None, Red answered. Forgive me for asking, but did you ever ask your father why he wrote these words on the wall? All the time. Red broke open a bottle of wine. It was the next night, and they still had no luck with removing the words. But they decided to spend the night again. It didn't live too far away, so the trip back and forth wasn't so bad. And every time I asked him, he always said some nonsense. What did he say? That he was a god and that I had to learn the rules? Red shrugged his shoulders, and Stan looked at him, a blank stare in his eyes, a palpable shift in energy. Then he bent his eyebrows. I'm sorry, babe. Stan hugged him closer. That's not a lot to go off of. The next night, Red came to the house alone, a bucket of white paint in one hand and a glare in his gray eyes. After Stan's bent eyebrows, Red surmised he'd had enough. And so had he. He'd had enough of his father's words that never sought to understand him but only sought to be understood. And now, standing in front of his father's house again, he felt the divide between them deepen, and Red was hoping for a set of wings that could fly him out of it. All the scrubbing they'd been doing for the last 2 days was for nothing, but he would try to erase those words in pure white. He looked around the house, trying to think where to start, so he took himself to the first one out of the 95 his father wrote. Listen. The commandment screamed at him noiselessly. Red couldn't just listen, at least not without being seen first, and he wondered if it was too late to be seen by anybody. He dipped his paintbrush, watched as it dripped, and slathered it over the words. There, Red said to himself. The paint worked. Somehow, he was surprised, and to celebrate, he opened a bottle of wine he had never finished with Stan and poured himself a glass, thinking to his father's reasoning for these words, that they were God's, that these were his father's commandments. It had never made him curious before, but now he wondered if there was ever some truth to be made of those words, or if it was all just a terrible attempt at getting close to him. A knock came at the door, a demanding pound. Stan? Red asked, the glass of wine still in his hand, the pounding coming harder. Okay, I'm coming. Red came to the door, and when he opened it, he dropped his glass of wine, for the man at the door looked identical to his father. Same arch of the nose, same inky black skin, same serious look in the eyes. The resemblance was uncanny. Red caught himself staring, gathered himself. Can I help you? But the man returned his question with a smile. So, the God of truth really did have a son, the man said, which he was not really truthful about. Red raised his upper lip. You must have the wrong house, Red smiled politely, and then turned to close the door. Let me tell you something, nephew, the guy called to him. The reality of things is set in here, and you ain't gonna get them words off your old man's walls. They're meant for you. Did somebody set you up to say that to me? Red tried not to erupt. Some neighbor who doesn't want me moving in? Did a real estate company send you? I'm Mr. Reality, your divine uncle and your father's twin. The man who looked identical to his father said, I'm here because I sensed a strong power, and it felt like my brother's. Well, he's not here, but his words are. Red had never seen this man in his life, but if he claimed to be his godly uncle, then maybe he knew something about these words. Red gestured for Mr. Reality to come see the words, the same ones that were driving him mad. Let me tell you something else, nephew. That white paint ain't gonna work. But Mr. Reality eyed the paint can, but Red just wanted to burst into tears. He ran to the bathroom door where the first commandment was written, and the words had outright bled through the white paint, almost as if he hadn't painted at all. Wow, this many commandments, Mr. Reality said, taking a look around. That's unusual. He must have really hoped you would see. See what? What his world was like as a former god of truth. Former, Red asked. Yes, former. That power has now passed on to you. Excuse me? Red asked, dipping the brush into the can, desperately trying to wipe the words away. Then he stopped as something caught his eyes. Commandment 5, I will never leave you. Which had always seemed more like a promise than a rule, and Red guessed he hadn't. He could feel his father's essence in the house they shared, and inside of him, something new, but something familiar. His uncle had even come by to witness him, to see, and he had let him in because anyone who knew anything about why his father wrote these words on the wall had to be important to him. Red could feel it. The commandment glowed a bright golden color before burning away. Red's face became screwed up as he felt a hotness inside of him. But I don't understand. Why did it burn away? Your father's essence, the essence of a god, is now inside of you, nephew. Once you understand his truth, it'll burn into you, and then, well, you'll have to write your own. Stan, Red called to him. It was the next day. The sun shone bright, shooting through the clouds. Can you pass me the pink paint? Red had thrown on some blue jean overalls that he didn't mind getting paint all over, which was a good thing because there was a lot to write. But meeting his uncle for the first time felt like a breath of fresh air, even if he couldn't explain why. Red guessed it just felt good to be seen, and he wanted Stan over to see every part of him too. So in big pink letters, Red wrote his own commandment on the wall. Commandment 1, love is the strongest force alive.
Oh, bravo. Oh, wow. Oh, thank you so much, Duane. That was so beautiful and so moving. And there's so much to talk about over that one. We just have to. So there's that. And here's Celeste Ramos. Celeste is a writer and voiceover artist from Brooklyn. Her work is dedicated to finding the common in the unusual and has appeared in South by Southwest 2024, City Lights Books, Narratively, Edinburgh Fringe, Great Weather Media, No Dear Magazine, and many more. And she used to perform in the Mission and the North Beach in the late aughts, hanging out in Vesuvio, City Lights, Amnesia, and all that stuff. What else? Just, I don't know, share whatever short little, just go. You do your thing. So glad to have you, Celeste.
Thank you, Youssef. I'm happy to be here. Thank you, everybody. It's nice to see a couple of you that I recognize as well from performances here in New York. I think those venues are really like the ones that stand out the most to me in San Francisco, for sure. But it was really just the constant mix of truly random people and the way that we would end up in these like impromptu writing salons at 3 a.m. on a weeknight, or like it was that kind of just energy that I miss a lot from San Francisco. So it was a cool time. I have 3 pieces for you. And I always like to start, especially with anything around the holidays, with something that I wrote from around the same time the previous year. So around this time last year, I was house sitting for a friend's friends who were away for Christmas, and apparently their house was haunted. And so I wrote a piece when I started to feel like something weird was going on in the house. And I was just thinking about who it might have been that was there with me. So this is called Holiday House Sitting. She's in someone else's house on Christmas. watching a home lived in, loved in, knowing she walked away from the same thing long ago. She had this perfect little warm thing in her chest, but just never figured out the right way to place it. So it stays, glanced and balanced and glowing like a little flame in a window. That means she's home. That means she's happy. That means she's safe and warm, and someone loves her as much as she loved herself. Things she should have had were taken away by her running, so she spent all these years chasing after a frozen sunbeam in some shadow's hand, after her future. That's her now. That's her life. She brings a different light these days, one that floats like an ember, but people don't understand it's the ember after an explosion, riding a free, wild breeze, lauded as much, but destined to burn out. Everything in her is going cold, real slow, like a hearth late at night. She shouldn't be here saying these things, yet she is the persistent ghost of a dead girl who's so tired of haunting other people's homes. She threw a giant rock through her window one day and has lived in its draft ever since, letting the icy wind that puts out all hearts late at night blow through her. She sleeps in the beds of other couples and eats their food and smiles at the things drawn by their children. She misses what should have been as much as she misses her own might. She shouldn't be there. She shouldn't be there at all. Thank you. The second one is one that I've done quite a bit at open mics over the last year or two. I haven't done it in a while, so I like doing this one. This is called Sing Along If You Know the Words. You had all the sex appeal of a wet Band-Aid, and yet there I was. Those heels were as high as they were because I was trying to see over my unmet needs. I was trying to see where along the line of this night I might feel something, anything, even if it was with some guy who knew I was hungry but thought I was dinner. And so I sat there and smiled at your jokes, but laughed with your friends just in case one of them might get a little cuter with another shot of tequila, because God knows you wouldn't, but they didn't. You were the flesh that came through the walls from all those ghosts on the apps. You were not what I deserved, but apparently all that I could get to get these tired needs met. And now sure, you were nice, and everyone knows what I think about guys who are nice, but your smile was lazy and your walk was slow because you knew you wouldn't have to try, and that was my problem at the time. No woman should call herself a queen with such low walls around her castle, but no one could take the place of my long-gone king, and now you were sat down next to me on the bed, and it was better than nothing. You didn't really lay a hand on me, though. You kind of just followed the motions, like those 1950s dance instructional books where you move your feet to the dotted lines. You looked for the lines that matched the shape of the girls you told me you liked to beat off to. It was all over faster than it started, a sharp stab or two, and it was done, an inoculation against tomorrow's doubt that maybe I could have been wrong, because it was what I needed. It was what I needed, though I had plenty of other options and things to do for the evening. I could have been doing something else, but it's just that my body was asking for something I couldn't buy. Hug through, talk through, manifest through. My body can't fuck itself. My body can't touch itself. My body can't feel anything. My body is animal. And so my thighs became trap, catch, and kill. And my hands became grab, scratch, and take. And now the wages of greed and low self-esteem are some ice blue morning filling a stranger's window pane at 5 a.m., a morning I saw coming a mile away. It begets the same pain. It adds to the stack. I'm not strong. I'm not beautiful. I'm not honest or truthful. I'm a curvy stack of unmet needs who knows how to dress the part, who would rather drown in a maelstrom of sheets than crawl into her own heart, because there are things that the body needs that the spirit can't make, and that's what God doesn't tell you. That's the tea the devil sips from, and it's what anchors me to the end of every bar like bait to wait for the next one. Thank you. I have another minute to go, yes? No? I have one more, it's very tiny. This is called Suitcase. My suitcase, big or small, always weighs 50 pounds. A perfect balance of clothes for all seasons, underwear for all stages of my uterus, sneakers for wandering, heeled boots for feigning class, stilettos should the magic of a Saturday night find me. I always pack your ghost when I think I won't need it. I never pay an extra charge if you gain a pound on vacation when I tend to sigh the most. I feel you that way and forget. It's only natural. Your ghost is folded neat in a corner of my rolling suitcase where my life lives, zipped. When I get somewhere and unpack, I hang your ghost on the back of the door so I see it first when I leave and feel it last when I return. I wash your ghost at the end of every trip and then iron it, fiber by fiber. You hang pretty every time, and no one minds when you're around. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Celeste. What a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for showing up. Oh, wow. Look, Kevin Dublin. Kevin Dublin is an educator and writer of poetry, prose, scripts, and code. Google him for more info, but know that he believes in you and in the power of collective transformation. Find him at kevindublin.com. I don't know if we have what kind of time we're up with against, but you are involved in some things in the Bay Area, which is pretty cool. And if you can mention that before you go, I mean, I think these people should know.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
No,
before you read. Yeah, not go.
sure.
Don't go.
Oh no, no. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Fantastic. Yeah, this has just been beautiful. Just everybody, I'm excited to go read and find more from those who I have not heard before. Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of things education related in terms of teaching high school, teaching writing in the community, economic justice advocate, specifically for initiatives like guaranteed income, and yeah, just producing series and trying to
Yeah, okay. So his internet is, I don't know what we can do.
uh-oh,
You got that?
uh-oh, is it not
You
working?
you cut out, but keep going.
Okay. I'm jumping the phone.
Oh man. Um,
Um,
you want to call me and I'll just hold it up to the thing?
Kevin, yeah, you're freezing up once or twice there.
you know,
What, well, if you freeze up one more time, why don't we let you reboot, come back on a second time or something? And in the meantime, could finish up this set and then bring
Yeah.
Kevin at the end.
is
Let's
it
see. He's trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
is it are things
Got you.
Yeah.
okay?
The Christmas tree has done
Yeah. I was like, I'll just go by the router. I'll just stand right by the router.
Huh?
No interference. Ars Poetica. If it's not all juxtaposition, she asks, what is the binding agent? Forrest Gander, what it sounds like. There are about 7,700 in-house folks in San Francisco. There are at least 13,500 millionaires in San Francisco and over 20 billionaires. There are almost 38,000 unhoused folks in the Bay Area. There are over 275,000 millionaires in the Bay Area, over 600 millionaires with hundreds of millions of dollars, and around 60 billionaires. There are about 7,700 unhoused folks in San Francisco. There are almost 38,000 unhoused folks in the Bay Area. There are over 800,000 people who live in San Francisco. There are just about 7 million people who live in the Bay Area. There was around $1 billion spent annually by the city of San Francisco to public health, homelessness, and supportive housing and community and development, human services, and children, youth, and family nonprofits. There are around 7,000 nonprofit organizations in SF. There are around 30,000 nonprofit organizations in the Bay Area. There are more than 500,000 nonprofit employees in the Bay Area, and the average salary at a nonprofit is less than $45,000. There are at least 20 nonprofit executives who receive over $1 million in total compensation each year, in the Bay Area. Median monthly rent for an apartment in San Francisco is $3,370, and that's $40,440 a year. There are about 7,700 unhoused folks in San Francisco. There are almost 38,000 unhoused folks in the Bay. Seeing outside of the city before it burns. I've never seen a waterfall in San Francisco, yet here I am, and here is a waterfall. Like everything, it's the arc of one transforming into another, she says. Winter's end drifts, splashes over frog song and news of another public murder muffled in the distance. This spring sings along with Otis Redding. Look like nothing's gonna change. Everything still remains the same. I kiss, like a bird of paradise, my lover's cheek. Shadows eclipsing the short habit in my right hand. One drag and everything beyond eyelid silhouettes. Two drags, I forgive my father for rowing ashore and leaving his boat. Three drags from the water. Americans rarely want to be anything but Americans, yet believed he worked his whole life with his hands because he couldn't stand not pushing a mop. Today, my wife contemplates how many barefoot years we would survive laceless as we are in the wilderness. I remember and say, we're already here. She waits patiently for another light. How many centuries does it take for a glacier to carve out a bay? One of us asks if the water speaks other languages, and the other asks if it speaks mountains, and either she or I ask if ice is another word for genocide. Translate mourning into a season as autumn. Hold on to summer. Smoke like the universe unbounds from our lips. An elegy for Neely Tchaikovsky. I met Neely within the folded shadow of Quake Tower, atop a bed of flowers, and other poets with ecstatic shouts of Ginsberg. I met Neely really with a question that begins an elegy. What did it mean? To bring again, to breathe, to carry a pocket full of wolves huddled in a circle. I may have met Neely in Herod's palace in Jerusalem, or at least a desire for Neely, between its massive white marble, freshly cut from the rock, and its later rebel remnants. Yes, there at the center of silver and gold, still twinkling in the eyes of a rock pigeon, I met the seeds of Neely in a jar, like fireflies on the brink of lighting. The seeds of Neely and his wishes to be a dead poet, with Charlie Parker playing in my head, and another page flipped toward Revelations. A generation cataloged and encompassed in poetry. Neely, the drunken boat as witness, as food carrier for good poets, yet still marveled by a sunset. Did I meet Neely outside of Vesuvio's on Columbus Ave and North Beach with poet Scott Bird, Aggie Falk, Dana F. Smith after reading poems in honor of Jack Hirschman at City Lights Books, before talking poetry, politics, national and international over coffee, while Neely thumbed over the edges of a new translation of the Bible? It is new. It is familiar. I met Neely in a gust of alien wind, watching strands of his hair break free from beneath beret like kites from hatchling spiders catching spring currents and sungleam from Bernal Hill towards the ocean, searching for a part of the coast wildly at peace, where the grass rustles near cliff sides and wave churn and gull call. When there wasn't enough time, I met Neely, between the strike of a match and match ignition, a hint of smoke, a tea mug nearly empty, last lukewarm swill, the unfurling of a story quilt over what does it mean to be a poet. I meet Neely in every overcast sky above a San Francisco canyon. The truth is rarely pure and never simple. I met Neely and I meet Neely like date palms sprouting after 2,000-year-old seeds are dug up in the Judean desert. Neely like Yakamochi waking from a dream, groping for nothing. Neely tenderly prying open a box of butterflies to count them. When I first met Neely, it was in the mirror, which is how he met me. Now, Neely whispers the truth as a dear friend. It is only the living who make up words like living, like death, like the end.
Oh, that was incredible. I remember Neely and I love him. I'm going to round this out with 10 lines. At dawn, all the dead will float from the sky as we perform our magic work, Starvation Ramadan, tent birth for future martyrs whose power have we not forgotten. Death blessed us with tears, a liquid call to prayer. Time waits to pull us back to the soil. Thank you. Back to you, George.
Thank you, Youssef. Beautiful. Great group of people you brought with you today. Especially moving to hear a tribute to Neely Tchaikovsky, who was a great friend to us here in New York as well. And on Jack Hirschman's birthday, which is today, to hear a poem for Neely is very, very moving. So thank you to Kevin, to Duane, Celeste, and to who's the other guy? The other guy that was the prose guy. Keith, Duane, Kevin, and who was your last guy? Mention him one more time, please, Youssef.
Yes, well, in order, reading order was Keith Donnel, Duane Horton, Celeste Ramos, Kevin Dublin.
Oh, okay. So I got them all. I got them all.
You
Good.
got them all. Yeah.
Okay. That's good. I don't want to leave somebody out. Be like leaving John Foster Dulles leaving out Korea, in the sphere of influence of America. So super job, all of you. And I've always maintained that there's a special polarity between the Bay Area and New York City, leading the way, magnetizing this country for what's the best and most valuable, what poetry can do for this benighted country. So thank you for continuing with that good work. And we'll turn now to our third of three groups. Timing is excellent. Thank you all for keeping the time. Pete Solomita has a knack for finding location. I'll tell you that because, he started up storytelling on Orchard Street, which I never been to Orchard Street before, but went there to be part of his big podcast in a tiny studio on Orchard Street, which is kind of a foundational element of why Time Out magazine called Orchard Street one of the 10 coolest cities in the world back in November. I sometimes have to think that they missed a few cool streets, but nonetheless, Orchard Street. And then secondly, and Celeste, you may know of Young Ethel's, Pete Solomita does a very fine reading series in Brooklyn at Young Ethel's. It's a very swell variety show. I think I got that name right.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. So here's Pete with some of our favorite friends in poetry from New York City. Pete Solomita.
All right. Thank you, George, for the opportunity. And thank you, all the poets that I've read so far. It's been a terrific reading. Storytelling on Orchard Street has been around for a little more than 3 years. We've done 63 episodes. I do in-depth interviews with writers of poetry, fiction, memoirs, journalists, songwriters, even a comedian, anybody who tells a story through their art. Francine and George and Alan were past guests, as well as two of my three writers, poets today. One is scheduled for February. First up, I have Meagan Brothers. She was on episode 30. I'm sorry, Meagan. Meagan writes novels for young adults, the most recent of which, Weird Girl and What's His Name, was named one of Kirkus Review's best teen books of 2015. Her poetry has appeared in Post Blank Magazine and Maintenant, as well as anthologies Persian Sugar and English Tea, Before Passing, and The Other Side of Violet. A native Carolinian, Carolinian. She currently lives in New York City. Welcome, Meagan.
Thank you. Thank you, Pete. And thank all of you guys for what a great afternoon of poetry. Wow, this is you guys have just been so fantastic. So it's a real honor to be here. And thank you, George. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, all of you. And so this is just a short one and a longer one. This first one is called Hopper in New York City. I like it when my life feels like it could be some other life in some other time and body and space. I like it when it feels ordinary to ride downtown in the rain on a Monday when I should be working, to see the girl at the automat again, as pensive and mysterious as she was 20 years ago, uptown when the elevator doors opened and Gershwin was playing. I like seeing the squat brick buildings in the rain, Lady Lib veiled in harbor mist, the super tall towers hidden in the fog like it could be 40 years ago or 100. I like the old chrome restaurant sign and the confetti blown across the curb, scattered hot pink and turquoise on the cobblestone like it could be New Year's Day, like we should celebrate. I like the rickety uptown sea, the return to the Bear Park and the small warm grocery store, buying a loaf of bread and a can of noodle soup, heating it on the gas jets, peeling an orange for dessert, dripping juice. My fingers could have been any fingers, could have written any words, sketched these bridges, painted the soft light curving out of its bulb and wrapping around this windowsill. There are so many possibilities still, stacked silent as bricks, waiting for you to build something of your own to hold you. And this is a seasonal one, I guess. I've never read this before. This might be, maybe this is the first time Walt Whitman is going to be associated with the National Lampoon, but maybe it won't be the last. This is called What, Pray Tell, Does Ellen Griswold Do All Day? While her husband is having his 19th nervous, etc., does she reflect on the infinite subtle inflections with which she says his name, gently pleading, Clark, not another bad idea, Clark, fully exasperated now, Clark, in the grips of another disaster she will have to mitigate, Clark, for the last time, Clark. Here comes another one of those headaches like a thunderclap, Clark, relieved that no one was hurt, and of course I still love you, Clark. Let's rewind back, further back before the stacks of Christmas cards unaddressed, before the extra loads of laundry spinning the dryer off its track and doubling back to the grocery for the low-sodium brand, back before the feet in cold stirrups, the doctor with his Chesterfield announcing the gestation of a child whose changing face you can barely remember some days, back before the stiff lace neck of your borrowed wedding dress, the blue silk garter beneath, the pink champagne punch tilting in its cup, back before the clandestine necking in the dank fraternity basement, back to the ponytailed preteen in her pastel window seat, warm transistor on her lap, drawing hearts around the photographs of Ringo and Tiger Beat. Did she always fall for the clown, melt at the thought of the hangdog boy, his secret soul unseen by his flippant, quicker-witted brethren? Fast forward, back to now, back to old enough to know better. You can't even smoke in your own house. You knew he wouldn't erase the tapes. You knew he wouldn't stop burning gas just to crane his neck at her one more time, doing 77 and a 55, while he's gazing out the frosted panes of his fantasies. Where are you? Glazed out on Librium, diazepam, halcyon, blissed on the glossed peace of God. What strange faith keeps you here? To keep him from blundering into death or dismemberment, to keep the kids from shape-shifting again? Are you lifting the glass? Are you drawing hearts around another kind of life with a man who is patiently able, who does not flail, whose eyes are wide open in steady concentration, seeing only you? All right, that's it. Thank you guys so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Meagan. That was great. Next up, we have Lee Kostrinsky. He is the author of several poetry books, Why Pat Cooks, Holy Men and Imbeciles, Seen Clearly Through Dirty Glasses, and Licensed in Some Other Profession Despite the Blues, plus the novel Here Nor There. He had pieces published, Other Voices in Polarity magazine. He's also a guitarist, the former co-owner of Small's Jazz Club, and currently runs the Birds and Beats Poetry Jam at Ornithology Jazz Club in Brooklyn. Like I said, he'll be on Storytelling on Orchard Street at the end of February. Please welcome Lee Kostrinsky.
Thanks, Pete. This one's called Charlene's Village Dreams. She got moonlit and she hit the front row, and her big eyes were wide and moving like stage lights, and blue contacts and pink eye shades, naked raw knees clapping together on the intimate seats. She smiled and ordered a couple of dirty martinis and every cute little olive in the house. And she loved herself. And she loved herself now. And that was such a good place to be in between sets and sunsets. Her eyes dimmed and she stepped outside on the break. And she looked straight into the flickering rhythms. She had never noticed them dancing before from the street lamps, blues so diffused. She noticed the harmony, the dissonance of beautiful friends and evening clouds, geniuses and or lunatics. What a scene. Dry vermouth laughs and all plumes of the friendly green. She pushed her Gowanus to Greenpoint Guinevere hair to the side, and she turned her vintage velvet black hat on an angle, like she was dropping a needle and playing with eternal style. Then she got back to it, putting her fist under her chin and whispering to herself, "This is how I begin." Again, she would love herself tonight, on the way to a love so supreme. As she had just heard this record the other day, it was an LP straight from the sleeve. It was so pristine. They don't hit you over the head. They gently but intensely ask you to participate intelligently. And her mind wandered onto the palettes of the piano colors, intermingling, floating like a lone single planet dazzling, not ready for a partner or a whole commitment thing. She would study the language of the orbits, listen and steer her heart from the pretentious. Her feet did anything it could to avoid the streams of the shallow. And she loved herself. And she loved herself as some others seated around her may have wondered why. So beautiful, damn. Wide awake, alone, solo, at the midnight jam. She closed her eyes tight. She heard nothing but pure music, pure music, pure music, and it sounds just fine, so fine, just so fine. And it rained in her cocktail, just a little. Next one is a new one called Bookended. The new bookstore closed. It was filled with the worst books. It was there for only 8 months, and it deserved to go, to be empty and torn down to the rotten core. The esoteric in there was substituted with fluffy marshmallows with smooth covers. It smelled like plastic greeting card holders, and the lady that worked there was moving in circles when I mumbled at her, "Are you hiring? Why are you closing?" Not enough comedy, not enough drama, not enough wine mamas. Nothing had a ripped cover. There was no price that was penciled in. There was no large beast with long gray nose hairs peeking out behind a flipped up shades of old reading spectacles and manning a large oak main desk like a wobbling spaceship covered in an ocean of bookmarked, bought and sold rarities. He would give you no attitudes, no smells of rude, and make you be afraid to ask, "Do you have the first edition of?" This new bookstore was worse than an airport bookstore. It had crashed and burned trying to churn out the sales of the 666th book in the last fantasy series of Bore. I am totally sure. The brand new closing bookstore had shiny floors that you could slip on, and the kids section with ropes around it. There was no empty bottles of vino or fried fish carcasses on a plate. There was no disdain for certain books, no off his block, that one manic regular guy in the corner hanging out near the esoteric, smiling at you, not knowing you, and spit gearing up to smother you as he was going to walk up to you, whether you like it or not, agitated about austere. And that's why it will be gutted, this place. The 15% off the already insane list prices, ripping off the reading rainbow like it was a novel whore. Die, new bookstore, die. The local cultured vultures won't even pick your bones. The space will go empty, and I am already dancing to the bells on your front door. The dirty commercial property is up for lease again and again and again. And I must say, It will be even less this time of an eyesore, because the gods know good writing, and God willing, they destroy and finish off quick everything else. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lee. Here.
Thanks, Pete.
I should mention that the podcast is available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. And if you're interested in contacting me about possibly being on it in the future, it's my name at gmail.com. Next up is Amy Barone. Amy's poetry collection, Tree Songs, will be released by Broadstone Books in 2026. Her book, Defying Extinction, was published by Broadstone in 2022. New York Quarterly Books published collection, We Became Summer. She wrote chapbooks Kamikaze Dance and Views from the Driveway. Barone lives in New York City and Haverford, PA. She was on episode 43 of the podcast. Please welcome Amy Barone. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you. Thank you, George Wallace, Robert Savino, Walt Whitman, Birthplace Association, and Pete of Storytelling on Orchard Street. I'm really honored to be part of Poets Building Bridges. My first poem is called Pennsylvania 6, 5000. I worked across from Hotel Pennsylvania one year in a zone of methadone clinics and vagrants hanging on corners. Far from its glorious start in 1919, the year of my dad's birth, when big bands jammed at Cafe Rouge and the Manhattan Room in the world's largest hotel. Silent film stars Clara Bow and Nancy Carroll bathed in champagne, and William Faulkner wrote one of his novels there. Up to the pandemic of 2020, the famed hotel attracted tourists and visitors, as well as canines from the Westminster Kennel Club dog show nearby. From early 2022 through fall 2023, current owners tore down the building, its massive front colonnade of Indiana limestone. No one came to its rescue, not the Landmarks Commission or the taxman. A month later, I phoned the hotel, dialing the iconic number made famous in a song by Glenn Miller and his orchestra in 1940. The longest city number, continuously in use, still worked. And this is Natural Monuments. On the third Monday of September, the Japanese celebrate Kiro no Hai, a public holiday honoring seniors where they're treated in gracious ways. Respect for aging residents extends to the trees, as we learned on a jaunt to Yanaka, a Tokyo neighborhood filled with temples, art galleries, wooden buildings, and enchanting alleys. 2 trees that survived war and natural disasters are revered as luminaries and recognized nationwide. An evergreen from the Beach family, over 600 years old, sits by the Emean Temple, its southern side held in place with supports after a large branch broke off. At the foot of Mikado Pan Shop, a venerable bakery, sits a towering Himalayan cedar planted by the owner's grandfather before World War II. Locals sprang to action when it was scheduled to be cut down for redevelopment. Today, the tree has a fund and website, thrives surrounded by 3 temples. Thank you. My next piece is called Art en Plein Air. No need to enter museums or galleries to experience Buenos Aires art and politics. Just wander the streets of the Palermo barrio, where mothers and sisters whose sons and daughters went missing send messages through vibrant murals. Or read the walls flanking Shishi Restaurant Tegui to learn how fiercely Argentines revere the Islas Malvinas. No need for rich patrons to be an Argentine artist. Make city walls and private homes your canvas. Theater designer Jazz commemorates 2 murdered boys with the charcoal of raging bulls. Pom Pom Channel's fun with her pink and blue cats and a big banged little girl in high-heeled boots. A Cuban artist splashes his wall with the expressive eyes of his father-in-law, whose sole dream was to have his ashes returned to Buenos Aires. And I also want to thank everyone who came out for poetry today. And my last piece is called Mining Calm. For the nonstop bad news of every day, I'd like to erect a blockade to soften each virtual brush with a brutal death or assault or theft, and protect it as a grove of aspen trees joined at the root. I'll cultivate a space of sunny reveries and warm rain, guarded by a circle of angels that can't erase life's rich presence. Thank you.
Great, Amy. Thank you so much. Thank you, Meagan, Lee, and Amy once again. And George, thank you for inviting us to be a part of Poets Building Bridges. It's much appreciated. I'm just going to read a couple short ones before our part of the great afternoon passes. This one's called Pass the Torch. I'm not my father's son, my reflection screams to me, reassuring not much of anything. The past can be an angry thing. Daddy worked in the shipyard, long hours of hauling other people's stuff. He'd go home bent over in pain, wishing he was someone else. My mother fed him with dinner and love, but that didn't stop the beating of herself and her only son. Some things you just never forget. They haunt you no matter what you do. So I stay away from love, knowing I haven't got enough to share, and I'm not going to pass the torch of heartache and despair. Daddy died one day at a time, with a bottle by his side, his dreams long buried. My mother never knew what it was like to just freely live life, and she got good at pretending that the sun always shined. I had no one to turn to when I had questions about life. So I stay right where I am in an old decaying place where the table is set for one, because loneliness is better destroying things you love. It's just not worth taking the chance that just maybe I'm like my fucking old man. And next is just a statistic. I used to spend all my time trying to be somebody I'm not. And now I'm trying not to be somebody I am. I ride the trains with no money in my pocket. I sing my heart out for $1. Sam Cooks, you send me a crowd favorite. Occasionally I steal an apple or a banana off the vegetable stand. When I'm really hungry, I go to Chelsea. They got good meals at Holy Apostles for lunch. They even let you take a plate to go, and sometimes they have free clothes and toiletries you can take with you. When I'm flush, I stop by Patty's for a happy hour shot in the brew. Nothing tops the all-you-can-eat corned beef and cabbage and the boiled potatoes. They've been serving it for years. I love the city when the sun goes down. It gets way less crowded, and the hustle and the bustle slows down, and I finally feel like I can be myself, and I don't feel so self-conscious, and my fellow crazies come out. I can't say this was my dream. When I moved here from Oklahoma, I was 21, full of big dreams. I had a good moment or two, but the grind beat me down, and so did getting old. But I still like it here. I still like it here. I still like it here, even if it means sleeping on the streets and being a statistic, the only way I count. Thank you, guys. Thank you, George.
Wow. Beautiful, beautiful conclusion to our year of exchanging in a triangulation fashion poetry from around the world, group by group by group. Today was really exceptionally good. Thank you all for being part of it. Thank you, audience members, for coming and listening and contributing in the most important way by being audience so that we are not just reading to ourselves. The Walt Whitman Birthplace has been really good in picking up this project, Poets Building Bridges. After the first year, we had to invent the wheel every time to make it happen. But in years 2, 3, and 4, the Walt Whitman Place took over the administration of it, so it runs very smoothly now. And no small part because of Robert Savino is with us here today. He's a board member, also a former Suffolk County Poet Laureate. So he's always there. He's always there when we need him. So thank you, Robert, once again for being part of this. We're done for this year. And 2025 was really exceptional. This show will be up on YouTube and next couple of days, probably Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, at which time, enjoy the show, catch what we've done, share your part in it, and and share widely with friends. Because the more we spread out the ripples of our communion here, the more that the poets grow as a community around the world. On behalf of the Walt Whitman Birthplace and poets everywhere, I'd like to thank you all for joining us again. We'll see you in the new year for year 5 of Poets Building Bridges. Until then, thank you. We're signing off.
Thanks, George.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.